Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Honorable to Ms. Dia Supraba as a error analysis course, as a lecturer of error analysis course, and honorable to all of my friends and my team who has attended in our Zoom meeting tonight, today. Okay, next slide. We are from third group to presentation about social. We will presentation about social factors, interlanguage and language learning. And before we start our presentation, I will introduce my team. We are from the group where there is Fauzan Rafiki as a first speaker, and the second speaker will be explained by Ernie Suputri, and the last speaker will be present by myself, Pratin Resta, as a third speaker and moderator. So, next slide. And the first explanation will be explained by Fauzan Rafiki. Fauzan Rafiki, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Rene. Okay, I want to explain about immigrant varieties of English. Immigrants varieties of English are the product of particular setting for language learning. They are said to be to level of communication in a sense in society and the horizontal level, which operates among people of the same status, and the vertical level, which is predominantly downward. And it's 19 and 70. Immigrant English is dialect resulting from low spending power, low social influence, and low political power. Oke, saya akan menjelaskan tentang immigrant varieties. Immigrant varieties, that's the some product in the environment, ya, produk yang dari lingkungan khusus untuk pembelajaran bahasa. Yang dikatakan ada dua jenisnya, yaitu dari horizontal level, yaitu yang berlaku di antara orang yang berstatus sama, dan juga ada vertical level yang dimana yang sebagian besar bersifat menurun. Nah, yang dimaksud dengan immigrant variety contohnya yaitu di daerah Amerika Serikat. Kita mengambil contoh di Amerika Serikat, di situ ada negara imigran yang terdapat, yaitu Meksiko, yang dimana Meksiko tersebut dari luar dari Amerika, dia menetap di Amerika Serikat, sehingga mereka harus belajar bagaimana menggunakan bahasa Inggris untuk berkomunikasi di tempat atau di Amerika Serikat tersebut, sehingga adapun variasi dalam bahasa Inggris yang diciptakan atau diproduksikan oleh negara lain. Di Meksiko, dia menciptakan atau memvariasi bahasa mereka yang mereka miliki ke dalam bahasa Inggris. Seperti itu. Yang adalah immigrants, apa sih yang dimaksud dengan immigrants English? Yang dimana immigrants English ini adalah dialog. Ya. Dialog yang diasalkan dari daya beli rendah, juga pengaruh sosial yang rendah, dan juga kelemahan politik yang rendah, kekuatan politik yang rendah, maaf. Kenapa disebut dengan apa namanya society influence atau pengaruh sosial yang rendah, terlebih karena minoritas yang misalkan negara Meksiko, ada beberapa hanya segelintiran orang Meksiko yang menetap di Amerika Serikat, sehingga dia mengalami atau pengaruh sosial yang rendah, dan juga ada juga kekuatan politik yang rendah. Kenapa politik rendah? Karena dia dari negara lain ke Amerika Serikat hanya untuk menetap di sana ataupun untuk melakukan pekerjaan yang dia pekerjakan. Nah, bahasa Inggris, kalau misalnya jika kita artikan, bahasa Inggris imigrasi lebih mengarah kepada variasi, itu variasi dialek yang dipengaruhi oleh bahasa hasil komunitas imigran. Misalkan, yang tadi kan dari Meksiko. Meksiko, dia menciptakan atau memvariasi bahasa Inggris mereka dengan bahasa yang mereka miliki. Sehingga komunitasnya, komunitas yang misalkan di situ ada beberapa orang Meksiko, dia bercakap bahasa Inggris serta bervariasi menggunakan bahasa Meksiko. Atau kita mengambil dengan eh, di Singapura, yang itu di mana di Singapura itu menggunakan bahasa Tionghoa ataupun Tamil, nah dicampurkan ke dalam bahasa Inggris. Oke, di sini ada the social dimensions. We emphasize that the factors involved are so very varied that their interplay cannot be summarized by a single formula. Clause 19 and 66. The crucial factor is not the relationship between the home and school, but between the minority group and the local society. Sini bisa kita mengambil faktor-faktor yang sangat terlibat, ya, yang sangat terlibat dalam bagaimana berkembangnya bahasa imigrasi bahasa Inggris ataupun bahasa yang lain, ya. Bahasa imigrasi bahasa Inggris di suatu yang telah dilakukan, yang telah dikembangkan oleh negara imigrasi, ya. Di sini ada kita kutip, yaitu yang menyangkut tentang bagaimana terlibat dengan faktor-faktor yang terlibat dengan sangat beragam sehingga interaksi tidak dapat diringkas dengan satu rumus saja. Jadi interaksi ini faktornya tidak hanya dengan satu rumus saja, tetapi berbagai banyak rumus. Itu tidak hanya dengan satu faktor, tetapi banyak faktor yang mempengaruhi berkembang atau tidaknya atau menurunnya bahasa imigrasi negara bahasa imigrasi bahasa Inggris. Yaitu kita berfokus pada dua faktor yang merujuk kepada the social dimension and linguistic dimension. The crucial, faktor yang menjadi krusial bukanlah hubungan antara rumah dan sekolah, tetapi antara kelompok minoritas dan masyarakat setempat. Jadi yang saya ambil tadi contohnya, mereka tidak berkomunikasi atau berhubungan dengan sekolah ataupun di rumah, tetapi dia minoritas grup atau kelompok tersebut melakukan interaksi terhadap lingkungan sekitar. Lanjut. Okay, linguistic dimension is the simple approach is to begin with the source language, the target language, LT, and the described instance where the learning speech different from the target. Language as interference. An approximative system is the defined linguistic system actually employed by the learner attempting to analyze the target language. Di sini adalah kita sudah mengetahui bagaimana si pengarang ini atau pengarang baca ini atau peneliti ini menekankan bahwa lebih pentingnya bukanlah bahasa pengajar, melainkan tetapi bagaimana kita sudah mengetahui latar belakang di antara uh, society dimensions, ya. Nah, kita beralih kepada linguistic dimension yang di mana berujuk terhadap faktor faktor yang di mana faktor yang mempelajari bahasa ini sebagai bahasa kedua dan dia memperkenalkan pendekatan sederhana untuk memahami kesalahan besar bahasa yang membandingkan bahasa asal dan bahasa target. Di situ juga ada appropriative system. Affirmative system itu yang dimana sistem linguistik yang digunakan siswa saat berusaha menggunakan language target atau bahasa target. Sistem ini bervariasi sesuai tingkat penguasaan dan perkembangan dipengaruhi oleh pengalaman belajar, fungsi komunikasi, serta karakteristik belajar pribadi lainnya. Nah, di sini there is a that assumption is threefold. Learning speeds at the given time is the pattern product of the language system. LA distinct from LS and LT and internally structured. And second, as at successive stages of learning from a Fulfilling series LA, the earliest occurring when a learner first attempts to use L language target, the most advanced at the close approach of LA to LT. In a given context situation, the LS of learners at some stage of proficiency locally coincides with major variations ascribable to different is learning experience themselves, themselves 19 and 70. Pada penelitian ini, mereka berasumsi bahwa ada tiga pendekatan, yaitu di mana bahasa afirmatif adalah produk struktur dari sistem linguistik dipengaruhi oleh L1, tetapi berbeda dari L1 dan language target. Yang kedua, yaitu tahapan evaluasi LA, yang dimana menunjukkan perkembangan bertahap saat siswa belajar dari tahap awal hingga lebih mahir dalam mendekati pendekatan language target. Dan ketiga adalah semakin tinggi tingkat penguasaan semakin dekat LA mendekati language target. Okay, enough for me. I will back to Aaron.
Okay, thank you, Fauzan, for your explanation. And next will be explained by Aminsi. Aminsi, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Pratiwi. And now we explain about indigenous minority varieties of language. Indigenous minorities varieties of language refer to unique from English that have developed within indigenous or minorities communities. It means like indigenous minority varieties of English are distinct form of the English language that develop within indigenous or minority communities. These varieties often arise from the interactions of English with the local language, cultures, and social context. They can reflect unique grammatical structures, vocabulary, pronunciation, and communicative styles shaped by the cultural identities and experienced by the speaker. Examples include Australian Aboriginal English, Hawaiian Pidgin English, and African American Vernacular English, AAVE. And these varieties highlight the linguistic diversity and cultural richness of the communities they represent. So the purpose of studying indigenous minority varieties of English common is several key objectives. Like the first is cultural preservation to recognize and preserve the linguistic diversity that reflects the unique history, identities, and cultures of indigenous and minority communities. And then a linguistic research to explore the structural features and evaluation of these varieties, contributing to the broader understanding of language change, contact, and developments. And then social awareness to raise awareness about the social political context that shapes these varieties, including issues of power, identity, and resistance against marginalities. Overall, the topics aim to foster appreciation for linguistic diversity and promote understanding of the complex intersections between language, culture, and society. And the characteristic of indigenous minority varieties of English include is like unique lexicons, incorporation of vocabulary from local language and culture, reflecting specific experience and traditions, and then distinct grammar, variation of grammatical structures, including sentence formation and verb tense, and use of pronouns that may differ standard English, and then pronunciation and phonology, unique phonetic features, including specific intonations, stress patterns, and sounds that are characteristic of the community. These characteristics highlight the race diversity and complexions of language as its purpose is response to culture and social factors in indigenous and minorities communities. Can you next? Okay, so we entering example of indigenous minority varieties of English. Example of indigenous minority varieties of English refers to unique forms of English that have developed in indigenous of minority communities, often influenced by local language, cultures, and contexts. Here are a few examples. The first is Australian Aboriginal English. This variety incorporates elements from various of Aboriginal language and reflects the cultural experience of indigenous Australians. It often features distinct vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. And then the second is Hawaiian Pidgin English, Hawaiian Creole English. Spoken in Hawaii, this variety blends English with Hawaiians, Portuguese, and other language. It has its own grammar and vocabulary, influenced by the diverse cultural backgrounds of its speakers. And the third is African American Vernacular English, AAVE, while widely recognized as a legitimate dialect, AAVE is the rooted in the history and the culture of African American. It features unique grammatical structure, vocabulary, and pronunciation patterns. And the fourth is Shishano English. This variety is spoken by some Mexican Americans, particularly in the southwestern United States. It is incorporate elements of Spanish and reflect cultural identity of speaker. And then the fifth is Scottish English. The Scotland's English is influenced by Scots. The Gaelic language and the local dialect, Scottish English has a distinct phonetic and lexical features shaped by cultural and historical context of regions. Please next. So example of indigenous minded varieties of English is the first is Australian Aboriginal English. Example like I'm going to grab some tucker. Tucker in here meaning is I'm going to take the food. And then Hawaiian Pidgin English. Example like how is brother? Meaning how are you my brother? The third is African American Vernacular English, EEVE. She be work every day, meaning she works every day. And then she's no English. Example like I was like no way, meaning like I said no way. And then Scots English is it's a wee bit cold today. Meaning it's like it's a bit cold today. Please next. Okay, so we can entering the pidginations and creolizations. Pidgination is simplified language that develops as a means of community between the speakers of different native languages. And a Creole is stable, fully developed natural language that originates from a pidgin and become a verse language for communication. The difference between the pidgination and creolization is pidgination refers to the process by which simply the form of language now as a pidgin developed as a means of communication between speakers of a different native language. This often occurs in the context of trade, colonization, and migrations, where people need to communication but do not share a common language. Pidgins typically have a limited vocabulary and a simplistic grammar, allowing for a basic communication. But meanwhile, in creolization is the process through which a pidgin evolves into a fully developed natural language known as a Creole. This occurs when a pidgin becomes the first language of a community. Even though through generally transmissions, Creole have a more complex grammatical structures and a richer vocabulary compared to the pidgin predecessors, reflecting the linguistic influence of the original language and the cultural identity of the speaker. We can say in summary, pidgination is the creation of simple language for communication, while creolization is the transformation of the pidgin into the stable, fluffy-fledged language. The function of studying pidgination and creolization are multi-phase. Function of understanding language development and cultural identify and the communication needs. So the purpose of topic out is the first is linguistic research and cultural professions and educational applications. And your next. So we entering the characteristic of pagination and creolization. Pagination is simply the grammar and vocabulary and limited expressive capacity compared to whole language. But creolization, so like expanded vocabulary, grammar, and a full expressive capacity. The pagination have a characteristic like reduced grammatical complexion, often lacking in inflections and complex syntactical structure. One limitation vocabulary is the lections typically draw from the dominant language of an English, French, or Spanish, but include them from local language, focusing on basic communication needs. And then the conversation characteristic is like expanded grammar. Expanded grammar means like Creoles have a more complex grammatical structures than Pidginese, with the rules that allow for nuanced expression and wider range of meanings. And the cultural expression like Creoles often serve as important vehicles for cultural expression, identifying and communication cohesions, reflecting on the heritage and expressing for the speaker. So well, like this characteristic highlight the evolution from simply from the communication functions to full developed language growth, illustrating that the dynamic nature and language in response to social and cultural needs. Here next, please. So example pagination and correlation is like from the paginations have Hawaiian pigeons. Example like how is brother? You like go to beach, and then Nigerian pigeon like example like I go with how with you. I go how with your dad. So, but the correlation is like heights in pro, pigeon away, another always can like me claim you. Okay, that's it for me. I'm going back to Pratiwi. Pratiwi, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ernest, for your explanation. And next we will be explained by myself. Uh, I think please next slide. Okay, next explanation. Local varieties of English. The interlanguage we have looked at so far reflect differing degrees of social, economic, and political penetration of societal structures. The structures being controlled by native speakers of the standard language. Another related phenomenon must be considered in reference of the generation of different dialects of English or English-based language, the situation where the societal structures are maintained by non-native speakers of English. Local varieties in English. This is the phenomenon associated with countries where English is not spoken natively but is widely used as a medium of instruction and of official and informal communication. And in this case, in English of second language, multilingual areas such as in Commonwealth. So, local varieties of English have developed by Filipino English, educated Nigerian English, Indian English, etc. We don't have this phenomenon inside a political area where English is widely spoken natively. Because we don't have French Canadian English as an alternative to Canadian English. Differentiation between French Canadians' use of English and Canadians' English are always concise in idiosyncratic, just as the immigrant varieties of English and are said to be characteristic by errors or by poor learning of English. But in educate Nigerians or Indians' use of English, how it differs from British or American English is regarded as standard as acceptable way of speaking. In such settings, the concept of interlanguage can be used to describe the process by which local varieties of English. Local varieties of English are not static. They continually under the influence of various social factors. These varieties reflect the identities, histories, and experience of the communities that use them. By studying local varieties, linguists can gain insight into social dynamics at play within a particular region, as well as the broader forces shaping the global use of English. Okay, I think enough for our explanation. Maybe there is an question. And let me read the conclusion of our material today. The conclusion from uh, our material today, social factor Interlanguage and language learning, is standard English will be outcome of language learning when the learner learns. Educational planning which ignores this dimension of non-standard English is unlikely to achieve success. Partial learning resulting from a lack of integrative interaction with standard and reflects the modification of overseas English as the social and cultural norms of the country are accommodated. Many of the interlingual processes are comparable to those in other contexts for learning. They have no social role to play for the learner. The study of approximative systems language learning thus leads to a focusing on the central process of second language acquisition and a study of the circumstance which give this process significance. So I think enough from us. And then, so thank you very much for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.